Okay, I will start. I will call the roll. Chair Ms. Kelly,
Here.
Ana Gonzalez, Amber Novi, Michelle Rousey,
Sorry, guys.
thank you. Cheryl Villegas Walker,
I'm here.
thank you. William Walker,
Present.
thank you. Chair Ms. Kelly, we have quorum.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming today and attending our meeting on safety and climate. We'll go right into our first part of our land acknowledgement. I am Martha or Ms. Kelly, and I reside in Merced, and I reside on Miwok and Yokut territories. I'll give this space for anyone that would like to acknowledge their own place of being and land recognition.
William Walker from Monsiva del Loni territory in San Francisco. Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon.
Chair, this is Cheryl Villegas Walker. I managed to come home from Minnesota with a terrible, terrible cold from my grandchildren. Currently in El Centro on Kumeyaay land. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Anyone else? This includes staff.
Martha, would you like us to read the land acknowledgement that we have prepared?
Yes, I would love for you to do that. Thank
Okay.
you.
I can go ahead and read it. We acknowledge that the land we now call California is the ancestral lands of the over 109 nations, tribes, and peoples. The indigenous peoples of this area have a deep reciprocal relationship with the land as its original stewards. Their ways, methods, and traditions have contributed to California's rich biodiversity and have impacted the transportation network for the state. We stand with indigenous communities and are committed to partnering and advocating for a more equitable and sustainable future. Our transportation network not only connects us to families, friends, work, and leisure, it connects us to our past and our future. We embrace our past with a future commitment to inclusiveness and equity for everyone who calls the state home. I'll pass it back to you, Martha.
Thank you. And one more time, is there anyone else that would like to give an land acknowledgement? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and move on to the next item, and that was the public comment or non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Chair. I'm not seeing any requests to comment from the public at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item is the adoption of the October meeting minutes. Many of you were given a copy of the October minutes. Is there anyone that'd like to make any corrections or any addendums to such items?
Michelle Rousey, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any second?
Oh, Cheryl,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So hearing that we have two, then I guess we'll pass it on to you, Justin.
Thank you so much, Chair. Yeah, I got the motion from Rousey and the second from Member Villegas Walker. I will now call the roll. Chair Ms. Kelly,
Aye.
Ana Gonzalez, Amber Novi, Michelle Rousey,
Aye.
Cheryl Villegas Walker.
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved.
Thank you. And moving on to the next item for discussion is the equity visioning process and timeline. As we discussed last time, we were saying that we were going to go ahead and move on with the vision and equity statement. I understand that we did have things that we wanted to work on for the next year, but we had made a decision that we would go ahead and move this item first, as we were given this task through the CPC for this particular subcommittee group. Have you had any opportunity or any vision for our EAC? Now I'm just going to open it up for everyone to just kind of give a point of discussion, and we'll start with Michelle Rousey.
Yeah, I don't know if you should start with me, but you know, we were sent out a questionnaire about what we would like to see some other groups brought into this process, and I really liked that a lot. Also, I would like to see sustainability and senior related focus and into the wording, and to bring in groups that aren't represented into that equity visioning process. And I'd like to bring some of the ones that I brought up into that visioning process. There were a whole bunch that we looked at, so not at this point I can't word for word bring up exactly what I'm talking about.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. And we'll go ahead and go to Ms. Sequoia.
Yeah, I am happy to share my screen and show some of the results from the questionnaire that went out if you'd like, if that would be helpful. And Michelle, maybe it can jog your memory.
Thank you, Ms. Sequoia.
Yes, that would be helpful for me.
Okay, yeah, let me get it up. And Justin, would you mind letting, oh, I have screen share. Okay, give me 2 seconds.
I do want to also mention that there were only, I think there was only 1 or 2 responses back from that. So Carol, would you like to elaborate on that to make sure I'm not speaking?
Yeah, so we extended the deadline last week. I believe I sent out an email to everyone on Thursday. So with the new deadline of tomorrow, Tuesday, November 26th. And so in that time, we've gotten a few more responses, and thank you for sharing, Sequoia. It looks like we currently have 5 people who have responded to the survey, and I would highly encourage, especially the folks on this subcommittee, if any of you haven't taken the survey yet, if you could please do so before tomorrow. That way we can compile all of the survey responses in advance of our December executive meeting, and that can inform the conversation that we have with the commissioners and the executives and with the rest of the EAC members.
So from looking at this graph, just currently with what we have, people for mobility, justice, equity seems to be the larger consensus of what people would like to see. Is that correct? The model?
It's kind of what is resonating with people. Yeah, and we can use it as a model if people want to move forward with it. But it's, the question is you know, from the resources provided, just, yeah, which one felt more in alignment with what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I noticed that we were almost all in consensus with at least one take home from the many different groups, because I see that the bar was like at 1. Everybody kind of agreed with one area of those models, but there was more comprehension on, like, also with the Caltrans equity. statement. They were in favor of that, and also the transportation equity caucus item. So those
Yeah,
were the
and
top
I can
three.
also share some of the I'll stop sharing for a second and switch over to another document, but we have folks responded with some of their own vision statements, mission statements, and areas where they will share the statement. So let me switch over to that document.
Thank you, Victoria.
Sequoia, could you confirm that you received my response?
Let me see.
I could take a look at that, Sequoia.
Okay.
Yeah, while you're pulling up the other
In
information.
the meantime, I have a question from
Yeah,
William
yes,
Moore.
sure.
I just wanted to ask if it's possible to just send a reminder to everyone today that lets them know that tomorrow's the last day to submit. Survey.
Yep, I absolutely will. Yeah, reminder went out Thursday and then today, so that'll be, yeah, and then tomorrow's just tomorrow's the latest, so I won't be able to extend it again.
Oh, I'm not asking for an extension, just a reminder. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That it's not just for this subcommittee members that we want that information from, so that, that we get other members to put their input in if they'd like to. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And I've made sure to send those email reminders to the full EAC, so not just this subcommittee, including the initial request to reply to the survey and then those subsequent reminders. So I'll do the same for today.
Thank you.
No problem.
And that's like that chart that we were talking about. If I can just make it a little bit bigger.
You need it a little bigger?
Yeah,
Let
that's
me
better.
I can make it too many screens.
Well, I really appreciate your comments, Cheryl. I wish I would have seen this too.
And Cheryl, I'm taking a look right now and I can confirm that we received your survey response. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And do you mind if I read yours out, Cheryl, or would you like to read them?
Given my current voice, you're not going to want to hear me talk, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's what I was asking, but I wanted to ask your permission first. And Cheryl says to advocate for systemic and transformative commitment to advancing equity in California's transportation policies and planning activities. And then to identify priorities and strategies to advance equity in all aspects of transportation, including allocation of funding, good point, prioritization of projects, elimination of barriers, and to identify community and institutional stakeholders with similar objectives and to partner with on community outreach and development to key deliverables. Could you just give me an example of, or elaborate a little more about that one without hurting yourself? Because that's a lot.
Yeah, sure. You mean with regard to the community partners or?
Yeah, it would. Yeah,
So
I was kind of wondering.
there's a lot of people doing equity work. A lot of cities, a lot of metropolitan planning organizations, a lot of local transportation agencies. So, I mean, I just want to make sure that we're not all working in silos. I mean, I received an email over the weekend from a friend who is really doing a lot of work in the equity space, and she just attended a conference that had like over 4,000 participants. So I just want us to be mindful that there's a lot of people rowing this boat, and we want to all make sure we're going in the same direction and not just doing things in isolation. That was kind of Martha, what I was trying to.
No, and I totally agree with you because objectively, if we're going to do this, we really have to be comprehensive about how we approach it rather than just be in our own silo of how we're doing it. Because a lot of good work out there. So yeah, to connect with other folks is important.
Okay,
And then you also put down the League of California Cities, Southern California Association of Governments, California Association of Council of Governments,
yeah,
and
those would
Mhm.
all be groups I would be willing to outreach to and say, this is what we are developing, and to the extent you have comments or can identify people either within or outside your organization that can work with us as stakeholders moving this forward, that would be appreciated. So
Okay.
that's to move our objectives forward. Those are the groups that I'm willing to do the outreach to.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Okay. Well, at this point, Michelle, do you, now that this is kind of jogged your memory, do you feel like you want to add anything? Because I see you wrote down, I think we focus, you can read your own. I don't want to take your thunder, so go ahead. Are you able to see the screen, or do you have it?
Oh, Michelle, you're muted.
Sorry, guys. I think there were a few different mission statements that I was commenting on in this. I said, I think if we focus on a few of the above, meaning a few of the different mission statements, and kind of bring them together to make it our own. I like what our last member just said, and appreciate that she brought in the wording in that it brings community groups in on it, because she's absolutely right when she makes the statement too, that there are a lot of other groups working on equity issues, and not just ones with equity in their name. There's a lot of disability and other groups that are working on equity to make their services or transportation a viable resource for our communities. And I think reaching out to those groups is important to get their word and to bring them into the fold of working on equity issues, and to make it as part of our statement is wonderful. So I really like that.
Thank you. Okay, well, I am one to want to make sure we have everyone's opinion and purview. I think we have Andres Ramirez. It says, transportation equity will be realized when race is no longer impacting our accessibility, economics, or health outcomes. He goes on to say the EAC recognizes the long-term impacts resulting from decades of racist planning on BIPOC communities throughout California EAC, and will ensure that CTC and CalSTAT and Caltrans rectify their history by prioritizing funding and projects to BIPOC communities, focusing on regional diversity, grant accessibility, and positive economic impact on impacted communities. The EAC will reflect on the diverse regional needs of the state by ensuring representation from every region in the committee. And that was said in regards to outreach, ACT LA, Bike LA, East LA Riders, Bicycle Club, Communities for a Better Environment, Central California Asthma Collaborative. And after consulting with all the subcommittees, it says he didn't put anything down or lead vision. Let me go back and read it again.
And this
And I
is
can't control.
interpreter. If you could slow down, please, when you read. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Let me go back into that space. Sorry. And I can't adjust, so let me see who else wrote. That was Andres.
Yeah, and then the last one is Christine.
Okay, Christine Williams, and I'll read slowly. A transportation network that meets the needs of all Californians and our environment. That is what she wrote. And then she went on to say, the California Transportation Commission's Equity Advisory Committee works to elevate the needs and perspectives of all Californians to ensure equitable outcomes as it relates to access, funding, and planning of our statewide transportation networks. The committee accomplishes this through working collaboratively across the 3 statewide transportation agencies in order to ensure equity principles around treatment, access, and opportunity that are reflected in the agency's decisions. Okay. And there was no answer for the others. So with that said, I want to clarify that there are 2 different things that we're looking at. We're looking at a mission statement and a vision for our transportation EAC. I would like to open up just a discussion on what would you like to take on first? The vision or the mission? And if you're in agreement with that. If you're not, then let's discuss that. I want to make sure it's equitable and fair that we all are in agreement.
So, Chair, so it's my understanding we're gathering input, additional input, and then our role, I thought our role as a subcommittee was to work from the input received to craft a draft mission and vision statement, which I think need to go hand in hand because they need to complement one another. But we can't fulfill our role in drafting those 2 documents without having additional input from the committee members. I thought we were supposed to go to the EAC with a recommendation so that they're not starting from scratch, which leads me to believe that we're not going to be in a position to do that based on the limited
amount of information
input we have so far. So I think to Chairman Walker's point, we need to just ask the committee members to be mindful that this is one of the things they need to do. They need to get us their input so that we can consider it and fulfill our role and get that advanced to the next EAC meeting.
So then, anyone else have, I'm in agreement with you, totally in agreement with you. Michelle, do you have anything to say to add that to that or?
But you guys, okay, so in this survey, there were multiple different ones that we could look at and reference to, and there's our mission statement. And I'd like to see that we pull a little bit from a few of them, and I mentioned that in when I gave my statement at some point in all of that. And I don't remember, and I don't recall which. I think there was like 3 of them I was like looking at that had wording that I was like referring to, and I really liked. But I also like I said, I liked what our members here today have said in their statements, and so I would like to see if we can combine a little bit of language from what we have from members already, and possibly use 1 or 2 of the mission statements from the other groups that were pulled so.
Okay, well, I think that has a valid point as far as what we can bring forward to the committee meeting. In itself, we don't have enough information. I think that it's fair to say that we can report back what we have thus so far been able to see. As far as like tomorrow, we'll be able to get a complete report back on who actually submitted and what were those recommendations. Would you feel comfortable getting a report back from Carolyn and knowing what was suggested and be able to possibly and agree with what we see, and from that derive maybe just some sub bullet points that we can present to the meeting at the EAC and just discuss what was returned and what would they like to see, if there's anything else that they would like to add to, and if so, then that they have to submit it. Let's set a deadline for a week after the meeting so that we can come back at the following year's meeting and have the recommendation made with that reflection of those answers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Martha, I think that's a good approach. I think we need to figure out what's going to resonate, what resonates with the EAC as a whole, and then from that we can work on drafting a proposed mission statement and vision statement. I will say, having done this with other organizations, the drafting of mission and vision statements can be extraordinarily time consuming because everyone wants to make sure every word is in the right place and means the same thing to people, and can be very, very, very time consuming. So we need to make sure that people are not shy about expressing their opinions so that we can do the heavy lifting as a subcommittee rather than as the full committee.
And you know what? I'll add a 10 to that. That's totally so true. And I'm almost willing to say that we do need to meet in person, because it's kind of like a sit down, like hash out, drag out, write out, and workout. It's not really conducive to a Zoom. So I would like to propose and see if something could be brought back to the powers of be, that we would like to be able to meet or convene in person, so that we could have like a work day, so to speak, time to be able to just work on this and hash it out once we have all the responses back. What do you think about that?
And Ms. Rousey, I'd be okay with it as long as it's not any more than a couple hours by transit from the Bay Area. Only
Well, I'd
because
be willing to go to you if that's the issue. I mean, but I don't want to speak out of turn and make sure that
no,
everyone's
no, if need be. I'm just, I just can't go down to LA and a few other places that are. It just takes a long time for me in transit.
well, maybe we can meet halfway. That way everybody's okay with it. What do you think?
That would be fine. If we all can agree on some midpoint that we can meet at, that would be wonderful.
Because it does require work. I mean, the only way I've been able to do it is like to sit there with the whiteboard and basically say, what do what sentence, what word, what are the like primary core statements that we want to pull from X document, and and create that document. And it's not really a good thing to do over Zoom, because you can't just really be there and write and
Can I offer a suggestion? This is Sequoia. Regarding meeting in person, and I think it's a great idea. If one or two folks from the subcommittee want to form like a working group, then you can meet as needed and kind of formulate things and then report it back to the group without us having to like post an agenda. So that might be something that I would suggest the subcommittee considers, having a small working group.
Well, I'd be willing to go down to meet Mama Walker and work that out, because I feel that she's, very much experienced in this, and I've done a couple of myself. So I think it would be a great idea to be able to work together, and then it wouldn't require us to have it online, right? Is that correct? In order to maintain Bagley?
Yeah,
Correct, and
basically
even
Bagley Keene is you just need to be in a publicly noticed location, and we have to present an agenda. But if one or two people are working on it outside of the committee and then bringing it back to the full committee and subcommittee, you can. There's a lot more flexibility there. It's kind of like a subject matter expert.
Okay, so would next week work for you if I were to come down and maybe make some time to come and work with you on this, so we could report back to the EAC meeting something, because tomorrow's the last day that the verbiage gets back. And I'm thinking that if I were able to work with you next week, we could probably hash out a decent, at least an outline for the EAC that we could work into our meeting and maybe decide something, so that we don't like hold on to this too long. What do you think?
I don't mean to be rude, but my hand's been up for like 4 people speaking, and I'm not sure why I'm not being called on.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's time to discuss this at the next EAC meeting, which is on Thursday, the executive meeting, and I mean the only days that would be available to discuss it prior to that are Monday and Tuesday, and I just it doesn't give everyone the opportunity to engage. So I don't know. I think that if we're very strongly feeling a certain way about the statement right now, like we're in a public meeting right now that's being broadcast right now, we could discuss the statement right now. We have the elements that have been submitted, and if stuff comes in tomorrow, it just wouldn't be a part of your deliberation.
And your comments have been taken. Does anyone want to comment on that, or are we going to continue with what we were discussing already? Okay,
Martha, if
so-
I could also make another suggestion. So as Sequoia said, if you identify two folks or even just one person, like a point person who wants to take the initial pass at drafting something, that can happen in a more nimble manner. And William, I hear your point around not being able to have everyone participate if that's the case. But I want to point out a couple touch points that we have in the meantime. We had the workshop in October. We are currently collecting survey responses, so we'll do a final push to get member input through that. And then there's this subcommittee meeting. Then we have our December meeting. So most folks will be in person. That might offer a little opportunity to meet. And then we have another subcommittee meeting in December of this subcommittee. So at least if you are, we're heading into the holidays and timelines will get a little crunched. So if folks want an opportunity to just get the ball rolling on this and send something back to this subcommittee for feedback, that might be a way to be more nimble and also get everyone's input. So staff can help facilitate sending out anything that is drafted by one or two subcommittee members, either to this group or to the full EAC. And then similar to how we did the CAPDI letter, we can solicit individual feedback. Staff can compile that and it can be relayed to this subcommittee. So that's maybe a in between of having more flexibility to meet and draft something and also still ensuring that you're getting input from all members.
Okay. Well, I would like to be identified, and I am presumptuous by asking Cheryl Villegas Walker to help me, but I would love to be able to work and collaborate with her to come back with some type of outline that we could use and present at the EAC meeting.
So Martha, I'd be really happy to work with you to come up with something for the committee. I'm just kind of mindful of the fact that this is my first day back in my office after a 2-week vacation. And with the holidays coming up, I'm going to be gone another 2 days this week. So right now I'm just feeling really stressed, but I know once I get past today, I'll feel better. But I really need time to digest what other committee members have submitted. I mean, I think that I put a lot of thought into what I submitted. And so, I mean, to kind of use that as
the framework.
Framework to consider, does it resonate with anybody else? Or do we need to, what do we need to tweak for that to be closer to what we as a committee feel needs to be our mission and vision statement? I mean, I hope I just kind of created a conversation starter with that. And where do we go?
And you definitely did. You definitely did. I think that along with the others that submitted, I think that we need to really identify who we are. Like, in the introduction, like, well, who are we representing? What are we composed of? What is our goal? And you put that in there. If I would say anything, it would be more about identifying who we are. You know, we're representing California, which is a community of diversity, you know, inclusivity, and how are we going to reach and maintain that goal? How are we going to reach that vision, or how are we going to make that a tangible? Is really what, like, you kind of put some good strategies in there, making sure that we include who's the base core of that is in the movement of doing this. We don't want to just be in our own thoughts when there's already a bevy of information out there. And how do we pull from that? What are some of the key words? You know, when I worked in creating a vision statement and mission statement, we're often tasked to give just one word of one thing that you want to make sure that is included in there, right? So that's like, this is a description of what we would like to see, right? And then from there, expanding. And then that requires work. So I know that what you put in there is a good idea or a good starter point. Bless you. But how can we do this in a way that's tangible and intentional? And I think that requires like that one-on-one. And if you want to use what we have submitted, and like you said, you want to get back with more information from the other group, then we would have to wait for tomorrow to get the last entries, give time to digest. And then hopefully, I don't care. I'd go out there to where you're at. Yeah, I'm good this week and the following week, you know, next week and the week right or the day of, or that morning of, you know, to be able to just sit there and work something out with you so that we'd have something to be able to bring back to the group.
Sure, absolutely. I just want to be, I just want to put this on the table also, is that the way I see the mission statement, it's just a very short, concise statement, right? You have your vision statement, which is kind of, you know, a little bit aspirational, and then your mission statement, this is, you know, what we're going to do. And then, you know, after that, that's when you develop all of the, how are we going to fulfill our mission statement, right? And that's,
right,
you know, 12 pages of this is how we achieve that, right? Right now, we're just building a foundation. We just need to know, are people in agreement? Are we in alignment with what we see as the vision and mission for this committee? And after that, then we go about the build out with the performance indicators, timeline, deliverables, all of that, which is a whole nother huge project.
Whole gamut. Yeah, no, whole gamut. If you allow me, I think that, William, you have a question or comment?
I just wanted to say that I think that everything that was submitted is great, but I think that there's already a conflict between what Cousin Walker submitted, Member Villegas Walker, and what Member Ramirez submitted. And so I think that it would be proper for us to have a discussion about, do we call out that policies in the past were racist? Do we call it out in a more nuanced way? Do we not call it out at all? I mean, that's the first thing that I see from just what was shown on the screen. I don't have the statements in front of me to look at, to like write, to edit and to write through. So like, it's just, I think that to say that two people are going to take what was submitted and come up with a statement, I don't know how you reconcile those two statements. And then I don't even know what the other statement, like, I haven't fully processed what Member Rousey wrote versus the other two members that submitted something. So I could also submit something by tomorrow, but like, I'm less interested in what I'm submitting, but I'm more interested in how we get to one statement.
The process.
Right. And I think that two people discussing two diametrically opposed statements doesn't get us to that. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so if we're going to focus on process for a minute, and I'm just going to be very frank. I'm disappointed that we don't have that we did not receive more responses, because we would be having a whole different conversation if we had a sufficient number of responses, if the responses had been provided to us in advance of this meeting. I mean, we're 45 minutes into the meeting and we don't even have the input necessary for us to have those hard discussions. And that's what you're talking about, Cousin Walker.
You're not wrong.
You're talking about having those hard discussions, because I'll tell you, for me, I am not a confrontational person. I am absolutely not a confrontational person. And that's why I wrote the vision statement and mission statement the way I did. Because for me to read, something that's going to be really negative and negative connotations for me, where I'm coming from, because I want to be looking forward. Yep, recognize all that crap, right? All that stuff that we are carrying, all that stuff that we need to move forward, right? To fix. But does it resonate with me? Yeah, no, but that's just me. And that's just me being honest and having that honest conversation with you.
And
And
I think that's noted.
And I appreciate that. And I don't know that I would have written it the way that Andres wrote it, but I commend him for putting it out there. And that's what I'm saying. I don't know that two people can discuss that. Like, that's all I'm saying. And
Sure.
I'm guilty. I have not submitted a survey. I also submitted a 17-page report trying to document the year. So, I mean, but like, and I think I touched on a lot of what we need to discuss in the report that I submitted without actually calling it my mission statement. So, but that said, I think it's okay for me to say that, Martha. I'm sorry if you don't agree with me saying
No,
that.
it's just that you're like, the thing is that we're inclusive in this space, but we want to stay with what we're talking about at hand. And
I think
the report that you wrote,
I think that my 17-page report talking about the year does align with what the mission statement should be. But you probably haven't read my report, so you don't know that. But anyway, I wouldn't have cut you off in this meeting, and I hope that you won't stop me from speaking.
I don't speak at your meetings because you cut me off regardless. So I'm just trying to ask you if you can stay at task.
So
with
can
what we're
I
talking about.
please finish my remarks, Chair, or are you limiting my time?
There isn't a limited time because there's only a few of us on this call. I
So
would just
I'll just
appreciate
take it as you're limiting my time and you're not letting me speak. And it's unfortunate that you're commandeering the meeting in such a manner.
No one's limiting your time, William. Here we go. Go for it. I'm not limiting your time.
You can continue you've cut me off. You can continue your meeting. You only have another 14 minutes. Go ahead.
Can I jump in? I wanted to mention too that I added some more context. So in October, there was the in-person workshop and for visioning, and Michelle, William, Martha, Peggy, and Connie were present, and we were able to compile notes from that workshop as well into the meeting materials for December's meeting. So I put a link into the chat on this subcommittee, but I also think that there's a lot of content and context there that was discussed and can help continue to guide the visioning process, because there were a lot of perspectives represented there as well. Just so it doesn't get lost, because although the survey was not as fruitful as we had hoped, I think that the workshop did provide a lot.
I appreciate that clarification, Sequoia.
Thank you, Sequoia.
And Sequoia, thank you for that reminder. And what I can do is send a note out when I send the reminder for completing the survey that folks should review that material in the book item in advance of the December 4th EAC meeting. That way it's on people's radar, and I could even attach it separately so it's front and center. And with that, I do want to suggest, Martha, if at the end of today's call, what would be helpful for us as staff is to know what you all need to get out of the discussion with everyone on December 4th, because that'll be the next opportunity to have a discussion with all members present. The executives will be there as well as the commissioners. And I think it could be helpful to have some guiding questions or just a goal. Like if people aren't responding to the survey, perhaps the discussion at the EAC meeting is an opportunity to solicit some additional feedback. And we might know a little bit more after tomorrow when the survey closes, if you feel you all have sufficient input at this point in time.
I would like to ask if there's a way to be able to send back that feedback that you do get in a way that even if it's like a poll that they did that they received the feedback, and then maybe just opinion or a comment on that said information, so that we could at least acknowledge that we all seen it, and that way we're aware of what we have or haven't seen.
Sorry, can you clarify which
With that
have
so
people
that tab,
comment and
so that tab with all of those responses, I mean, it's important for us to be able to see what other people have responded. So would there be a way to have a quick turnaround on those responses once they come in?
do you mean the survey responses?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So tomorrow when the survey closes, maybe I'll either need to close it at close of business or do this first thing Wednesday morning, but I can summarize the survey results and then send those out to this subcommittee specifically, or send them out to all EAC members, but directed to this subcommittee. So that's not a problem. It will just happen on Wednesday since the survey will be open through tomorrow.
Thank you. How do you feel about that, Cheryl and Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. I would appreciate seeing the greater response. And then Sequoia, could you send that link separately in an email to us, please?
Sure. Yeah.
The
no problem.
summary, that would be helpful.
Yeah, what's in chat, can you send a separate email, that way I can pull it up later?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm okay with us getting the results on Wednesday from the survey. I'm also wondering if it might be helpful to folks, since in the survey, we were asked to kind of pick which one we wanted to reference from. If we could also get the link to the ones that were picked out the most so that we can reference those when we're doing this work going forward, that would be good.
Thank you. Any other recommendations, Michelle or Cheryl, would you like?
Well, I mean, we get back to, I think that William really kind of hit the nail on the head. We have some very diverse points of view as to what that mission and vision statement needs to look like, and what people are going to want to get behind. And if there's one thing we need to agree on, it's got to be what our vision is for this committee, and certainly what our mission is going to be. Otherwise, we're just wasting a whole lot of people's time. So
Correct.
it's going to be, I think what we need to do is tell the committee members, the EAC committee members, to come prepared to have some really frank and honest discussions, so that we can get this mission and vision statement completed and move forward with next steps.
Sequoia, is there any way we can schedule something where, I mean, because it just seems to me that that we need more time, and then the framework of our meeting it's work. It's a working item. You have to hash out, like she's saying, there's a lot more discussion. It's a lot more intentional. And if we don't have everyone's participation, yeah, we could come up with a succinct and concise mission statement, but it may not be reflective of everyone else. And is it really going to be equitable and inclusive if we don't have everyone participating? And then when do we say that enough is enough if they're not willing to put their input in? How do we even come to that decision that it's, enough time or equitable? Or what do we have to do to
So-
make it fair?
Yeah, so I think too, this activity, this task, just I know that the committee has a goal of having something by the end of the year, but again, it can be a draft, and potentially it could be something that gets handed off to the new cohort as sort of a packet, and like with some instructions, like handling instructions, and a draft timeline of how it might go. So we don't have to consider ourselves necessarily limited on time if we want to expand who works on it in the future with new members. So that's just one thing to think about as we're
Can I
thinking
ask-
about the timeline. Yeah.
Could I ask, do you think it'd be a safe approach to just bring a worksheet or something that is already been used for these type of activities and have folks fill it out so that we can discuss the worksheet? Because the survey is great as far as like what you're asking for, but like, I don't know if it's really a way that people are able to participate in order to get the word or the verbiage out from them, their feelings, emotions. So could we use something that's already been used before as an activity sheet, or kind of like some type of a worksheet that folks can actually do, and then we use that? Or is that too much to ask? Or are we just gonna say, hey, we're not ready, and report back that we're not ready? What do y'all think?
Well, I'll just quickly add that anything that goes in front of folks needs to be fully accessible, and which is why we don't do a lot of kind of on the day of handouts, because not all of our members can equally see that. So that's sort of why we continue to lean on the survey, because it's very accessible method of compiling information. But also what I'm hearing is like just the need for like more workshop type of times where more than just two folks can come together and there can be more kind of creative engagement. And yeah, I think that's something, if the subcommittee envisions that for a piece of the process, if what we want to discuss today more than is process, like we can be continuing to talk about that and noting that and sharing that back to the committee. But yeah, I'll stop. I'll pass it to
Well,
Michelle.
I think that's noted. I mean, I agree with William in the sense that we can't just take someone's idea and say it didn't reflect what we are part of, because he's obviously mentioned BIPOC, and I think that's something that we do need to include. Like, that's why I said we need to identify who we are, what we really are, who are we representing. And then at the same note, I'm reflective of, Michelle Rousey, and making sure that we do include, groups and identify them for who they are. And then with Cheryl Villegas Walker, how can we make this a positive rather than reflect on or just dwell in that space of lack, when we should be looking at how we can progressively make it robust and, enriching for the future, not like at a deficit. So it's a lot to take on. It's messy, and I'm almost like I said, I'm willing to go and work, do a subgroup if we have to do another subgroup, just two people, but it's really up to you too, how you want to do this, because like, again, we're a group and we're here to vote and move that agenda item. So coming back to you, what do you think?
I like your idea of bringing two of you together to work on this and then bringing it back to the committee. But I also like the idea of having either you as a facilitator or sitting down with the group of us and really hashing this out and doing it in a larger group setting as you have done with some of the other things this year. So either way or both would be ideal for me. That way I have more ways of being able to participate too. I'm all in either way.
Carol?
I think, Martha, what you could do is we get the final results. Either you and me or some collection of folks has a preliminary conversation about what all of that says, right? We distill it down into some very succinct talking points that are presented to the full EAC and say,
Correct.
this is what we've heard from our committee members. These are the themes, these are the key points that we hear in the mission statement. Here are the key points or themes we hear in the vision statement. For us to complete the draft of both of those things, we need input from the full committee as to what resonates with you
The most.
for both of these things. Or is there something else we need to add? And then
If so, your time to do it and let's get moving, right?
exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's how I see it, but I want to make sure that like I hear from both of you, and I appreciate Michelle and I appreciate you coming to that notion. So can we agree that at this point, and I'll put it up for decision, do you all agree that we need to have the rest of the responses to the survey and that we will meet now as to when, but I would be willing to do that with you as you know, anytime in December or anytime you know, the last week of November, whatever it takes, but just to be able to at least come back with some bullet points, be able to go to the AAC and appear in front of them and just say, hey, like you said, these were the usual suspects that we saw, and this is how we were able to gather the information from XYZ. And now, forever hold your peace. If you have anything that you want to add or contribute, this would be the time to go ahead and signal it. If not, this is the information that we're going to take back and we're going to use to at least create a matrix for that vision and mission statement. Is that correct?
Well, I'm beyond a matrix. I'm saying we gather your input and we're coming back at the next meeting with a proposed mission and vision statement. And
I agree.
yeah, and Martha, I don't know that you can see the screen, but I do notice that William has his hand raised.
Please, William, go ahead, William.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that this committee has every right to come with a proposed mission statement, and I think that you should do that. I'm just saying that maybe also just have a chart with like the 10 sentences that you think are the meatiest sentences that need to be considered by the whole committee, and just like let us vote on it in real time, like do a Minty poll and let the public vote on it. Like we have time at the meeting, and there's 3 business days between now and this meeting. Like there's Tuesday when you're going to receive responses. There's Wednesday when I guess you might have time to meet 2 days from right now. And then there's next Monday, and that's it. Like you don't have any more, because I'm imagining that Tuesday y'all are traveling. So I'm just saying that like to be realistic, turn around a statement that you want to put out there and bring something that we can vote on in real time and that you can provide to staff this week. If you can't provide that to staff this week, then don't provide it. And then we move forward next Wednesday.
Sequoia?
I can also add that as we're putting together, slides to send out to people ahead of time, if folks are able to kind of get something that they'd like us to bring to the committee to react to, just as long as we have a chance to remediate it for screen reader accessibility and to send it out with enough time for it to be reviewed, we can add things for people to react to, like what's being discussed right now.
Okay. Was that included today's comments as well?
Yeah.
Okay, because I want to be able to make sure that those comments are heard. Okay, so going back again, what say you? I mean, I think that we agree that we're going to go ahead, wait for the decision, the survey, and that we are going to meet. And Cheryl, do you have your calendar in front of you, or?
Well, I can tell you that I'm here today. I'm here tomorrow. Wednesday, I leave to go to San Diego for Thanksgiving. So, and I mean, I could possibly spend some time with you talking maybe on Saturday or Sunday, but I have family coming down from Portland, Oregon to join us for Thanksgiving. So, it just so happens that you caught me at just a really a time when I'm really pressed for time.
I know. What's Monday like for you? Is it busy?
Monday is better. Monday is better. But I mean, I'm kind of lost in between what Chair Walker is proposing and what we're discussing. It almost seems better to me at this point just to put the raw survey data out in front of the full EAC and say, this is what people have come up with in terms of vision statement and mission statements. Give us your comments, and then just go around the room and have everybody tell us, what do you think about the mission statements and the vision statements that have been proposed? And then we take that committee feedback, and that's when we hammer out a mission statement, vision statement that then goes back to the full EAC.
Yeah, because I mean, like when I've seen this done before, it's like we're all tasked to write a segment, or even an opening statement to the mission statement, and then we all kind of vote on what sounds the best. And here in the survey, we're just basically saying what we'd like to include, but it's not really the framework of the actual, mission statement. So I think that if we go back and bring this survey to everyone, I think that we need to break it down a little bit more. I guess just give the ones that were common, and then go back and actually say, okay, this is what was given to us, and this is what resounded the most because it was repeated and by more than one member, or and kind of open it up for well, what do you think? Is there anything missing? Do you agree? Do you disagree? And then come up with some type of consensus from that. I don't know. So we need to, I don't think that we can move forward without addressing at least all the items, because there was a discussion that we had prior to in October that I think needs to be also added to the mix. It's not just the survey.
Correct. Agree. Yeah.
What I'm hearing, Martha, and if I could maybe summarize my understanding of where we're heading, it sounds like we, first of all, need all members to come prepared to the December meeting to have this conversation. A couple things will factor into that. Final push for survey responses, a review of the discussion that happened at the October workshop so that we're not rehashing the same conversation, and then a synthesis of the survey results with some succinct themes or points that are recurring throughout people's vision and mission statements. And with that, I think that can be compiled and shared at the December meeting. It's the last opportunity to get all committee members to weigh in. And then from that point forward, I think this subcommittee could organize themselves how they want. Perhaps it is 2 people to meet and draft something. And Sequoia mentioned this earlier, maybe a draft statement is the final product by the end of the year. And that is something that can be put forward for feedback and a vote to the new cohort in March of 2025.
Are you in agreement? Michelle, Cheryl?
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. Well done, Carolyn. I give you
No
a
problem.
standing ovation. I think you captured it really well, and I think you laid out for us a path forward that I think we've been trying to articulate. So I think that was very, very well done.
Agreed. Ms. Rosie here. I think the same thing. I think it that gives us a pathway to get to going forward and moving forward with this. So thank you.
And I'm sending out a follow-up email now with links back to the agenda items and another reminder for everyone for the survey. So that'll go out in the next couple of minutes.
Thank you, Sequoia.
Okay, well, let's Justin, do you want to go ahead and motion?
A motion for,
Yeah.
I think we need to do a motion.
Yeah, sure.
Is there a motion on the table? I don't think
Does
so.
anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, if it's helpful, Martha, I captured this in the notes and I can make sure I relay this to you for your subcommittee update, like your chair's report for the subcommittee. And
That would be helpful.
we can also recap this process or pathway for this subcommittee following this meeting. Yeah, a motion doesn't need to be made in order to move forward with this, but we'll make sure it's
Okay, good.
captured in the notes.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, happy
Thank
Thanksgiving,
you.
everybody.
See you next week.
Take care.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you all.
And I'll stay on for our recap.
So Martha, there's a separate link for that. So if you want to hop off here and then join the link that is included in that other calendar invite, that would be perfect.
Carolyn,
Thank you.
Yes.
if you don't mind, I think it might be helpful to throw the report that I just did into the email that you're sending out, just because I don't think anyone is going to review the agenda packet until next week. I just think it gives context. I mean, I guess it's up to you and Sequoia, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think that we can have that discussion during our meeting, and we'll get back to you with that information for him.
I mean, I'm addressing it to Carolyn because I don't think that you're going to support that. So I'm addressing it to Carolyn, and I'm asking that Carolyn and Sequoia consider it. I don't trust that you will consider it, and that's why I'm asking Carolyn.
Okay,
Thank you,
why don't
William.
we discuss as a staff team if that is feasible or makes sense based off of the topic of this reminder email that's going out.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
All right, Martha, I'm going to note that you're adjourning the meeting, so at 3:42, and then we'll debrief.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.